mine's working.
It's not for some reason.
Yeah, they were all.
There's one out.
Tested them all earlier.
Oh, you don't want to hear from me.
There it is. And yours? Have a look at this.
Councillors, senior staff members, members of the public in the gallery and members of the council meeting. And we've got the Shire of Esperance acknowledges the Kepikal Wadjuri people of the Noongar Nation community. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. We start into the agenda, and the first issue that Councillor Chambers is not with us. He has recorded one missing from this meeting. We go on then to applications of leave.
Apply for a leave of absence for the 2nd of December and for the 8th to the 12th of December.
To the 22nd of November.
Thank you. Now, Councillor O'Donnell.
Of December.
Thank you. Any further declarations, since I should have said? Councillor Oborne, I put it to the vote. Those in favour. Discussion. Nothing to announce at this stage. We move on to item financial interests. Okay. Declarations of proximity interest. Any declarations of proximity? Then we move to
Expressions of interest about who's putting in an expression of interest. So therefore, do we do our declaration?
That you've got an interest in item 17.2.
Thank you.
Right. So declarations of impartial interest.
Member of the RAC.
Thank you. Can't.
As I am a member of one of the applicants' organisation.
As of an interest in one of the expressions of interest.
The applicant for the expression of interest.
Thank you.
2.1, I'm a member of the church.
Thank you. Councillor Flanagan.
Yes, thank you, Mr.
Thank you, councillors. I've also got a declaration of impartiality interest on item 17.2. If not, we'll move on.
And that were published in the minutes 23 August by the CEO, Mr. Burge. Have a copy of that letter if you
Read it, Mr. Gray. Certainly explain what it's about and then well, I think that the CEO says he has a copy in his hand.
One was whether the Shire of Esperance had a policy council in the performance of its roles, excuse me, policy, and goes on to refer to or say that its issue with that, I believe it's very much a matter for council to deal with such matters. This should be, I believe, a policy whereby councillors can then take any necessary steps that they think appropriate in 2012, where there was an engineering report, and I think there should be, and there could be a better system in place whereby.
But the CEO might want to make some comment to them.
But if they're of significance, council would be disclosed of them and council agenda. So there is processes for council to be aware of, especially significant issues that are.
By which CEOs and admin report to, from Mr. Burge, there's a reference to a map.
I'm assuming I would have probably made reference to our risk matrix, and that is that.
What formal steps are there in dealing with
I think it's best if Mr. Walker answers that one.
Yeah, the Shire has a good relationship with officers in main roads, and then at my level and Shane's level, we also have dialogue with the regional care, so we have a good relationship with them. There's no formalised
Road safety audits are normally always done in conjunction with main roads as well, so they're fully across the issue.
The responsible road authority a copy of that road safety audit. It's actually a requirement.
Continue on with your questions, Mr. Graham.
Yeah, if I may, just one final question. What policy does the, sometimes referred to as Vision Zero?
Mr. Walker is looking at for that.
Yeah, so through the chair, there's a few things going on in the background in line with that, and Main Roads at the moment is rolling out the Shire has also put on the back burner to work at a strategy for ourselves. We're just trying to find resources to resource that back up in the near future to develop our own road safety strategy and look at what practical measures that we can implement and what sphere of influence we can actually change or have an influence over.
Could I just do a supplement? If it's on the back burner, where are we going to be when?
So through the chair, the one we're developing with the regional road group is currently with the technical working group, and I think we're going to discuss that early in the new year. We just need internal resources, and obviously we've struggled to get those internal resources over this last 12, 18 months given the whole pandemic, but once we can get them back up into a full staff complement.
Mr. Gray, in regards to the first question that you asked in regards to our policy, come to us and we approve those documents as they go through that budget process. So we are advised of it by our staff, issues that might be raised or could be on it in regards to design offerings. We have one offices that happen, and we are informed of results from that through those processes as well. But I'll just check back and endeavour to get a clear line of sight in regards to those issues going forward, so that we have a process that the council is informed of issues that have come up through the various road assessment processes as high risk or need to be done inside the normal 12-month program. So I'll make that commitment to you now, but I'll see that is done and we have a process in place for it.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, no members of the public for further questions. So let's move on then in the agenda. Where we go to public addresses and deputations. Any public addresses? No. Okay, thank you. So we go to petitions. Nil petitions? No. Okay. So we go to item 10 on the agenda, which is the confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 25th of October. Is someone prepared to move the confirmation? Moved by Councillor De Haas. Seconded? Councillor O'Donnell. It's moved and seconded. I don't believe it needs any debate. You either support it or you don't. Anyone wish to speak against it? No. Put it to the vote. Those in favour. Against, that is carried 8 votes to nil. We then go to the delegates' reports without discussion, and I can read this from the board all the best. Firstly, Councillor Oborne. And then we go to Councillor Graham.
To mine, thank you.
That's about, my apologies. Let's go to Councillor.
Down by COVID, so I never attended anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McMullen.
Nil to report.
I went to the event called I'd just like to extend a very sincere thanks to our community development. It was a fantastic day for that age group of people. Had a lot of things out there like that anyway, but she taught them all how to fix up their bikes and how to competing in the competitions, and it was fantastic. And lots and lots of the mental health people, and also there was another one. It wasn't S-Care, but put a shout out to that group of people for what they did on that day, with a little great Sunday period for 4 or 5 hours, and our youth. Thank you to all councillors that represent a council on those various. We have the item on page 11 and the recommendation. No questions to Mr. Henley? Report, I won't ask the mover to read all of them are applied. So someone prepared to move the,
I move the officers recommend 1 for a single house, oversized outbuilding shed, retaining walls and associated with
is there a seconder to the motion? Second by councillor De Haas.
use and consistent with previous decisions.
Do you wish to speak to it?
Nothing to add, thank you.
Speaker against or an amendment? To item 12.1.2, offenders subdivision questions to Mr. Henley or Mrs. Phillips on this item. Recommendation in regards to this item. Councillor Flanagan.
Contained in the resolution. Did you want me to try and read the table or describe the table? But it essentially requests a variation of $100,000.
Thank you. It's been moved by councillor Flanagan. Is there a seconder to the motion? Seconder, councillor Horan. Councillor Flanagan, you can speak to your motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. As outlined, being involved in the ODP back in 2005-06 when I actually worked for council, and I think it's entirely sensible to have a look and understand for the future development of that subdivision that it reflects contemporary design densities and so forth in the current housing market. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against the motion? Seconder wish to speak to it, councillor Horan?
Nothing to add, thank you.
Is there a speaker against or an amendment? Issue but the funds are coming from the Land Purchase and Development Reserve, so it's coming out of reserve. So I put it to the vote. Those in favour, please show. Against, that is carried 8 votes to 0. Thank you. Now we go to into asset management, and first item is item 12.2.1, the request for jetty timbers in the Esperance Christian family. The item's on page 23 and the recommendation's on page 25. Are there any questions that you might wish to ask to Mr. Walker or Mr. Burge on this item?
And apologies for not referencing that last week. I was a bit caught flat-footed there. So hopefully council's had a read of that and understand, I guess, where this report's coming from and what we're trying to achieve out of that. I will just make one note. Obviously, the building projects that are put forward, obviously, for community projects, you're going to struggle to get, like, I guess, readily accessible availability of those projects. Even if it was, say, like a CWA hall and the like, they're going to still be closed to members and the like, all the things. So it's obviously put to council for you to consider if this is a worthwhile project. That's a debate for council if you think the project's worthwhile investing this timber into.
Thank you. If not, we've got we've got a recommendation. So is someone prepared to move the recommendation? Councillor Oborne.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the officer's recommendation that council donates up to 532 linear metres of Grade 2 Esperance Tanker Jetty timber to Esperance Christian family for their new multifunction centre.
Being moved by councillor Oborne. Is there a seconder to the motion? Is there a seconder to the motion? Councillor McMullen. Councillor McMullen seconded it. So do you wish to speak to your motion, councillor Oborne?
I do, thank you, Mr. President. As per the report, the officers have advised this does meet the requirements of the policy, and in terms of the email that we received this afternoon, I'd like to point out that a precedent has been set for something similar to this with the dollhouse, which was a family a set of family-owned heirlooms that they wanted to display for the public. They set that up as an incorporated not-for-profit, and there is a fee to enter. So this is a community building where people of faith can come together, but it is a genuine community building because it's not only accessible by people like myself who go on a Sunday, it's accessible by the thousands of people that drive past it on a highly trafficked road, by being able to park in the car park and wander around the church gardens and look at it because all of the timber's on the outside, not the inside. Births, deaths, marriages all happen in buildings like that. There's plenty of timber still available, so I'm not sure why, when there is someone asking for it, we would continue to stockpile it when there is, even giving this amount, still large volumes that aren't being applied for in high numbers. It is a talking point for future generations, and being only 1 kilometre apart from the jetty site, I think does make it something that you can do, where you can walk from the old site to that building or from that building down to the old site. And with regards to the point about just because members of the church feel a connection doesn't make it a community connection, I have to disagree with where that's coming from, because it's the community asking for it because that jetty is important to them. Most of the members of that church have been members of this community for decades, and they were strong in their support to retain the jetty. So now that the jetty is no longer there, they wish to have a part of it in a building that is publicly accessible, visible from the road, and so that they can continue to enjoy the history and the heritage for themselves and for their family and for the community in a really high quality project.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against the motion? Councillor Flanagan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just bear with me for a moment. I just need to open up my notes. So I do disagree with the interpretation by officers and also Councillor Oborne. I don't believe that this is a public project that is contemplated within the spirit of the policy. I think what it is a project to construct a facility for members of a particular organisation. And that facility, whilst it's been stated in the correspondence from the applicant that it will be available to the public, only in circumstances where they want to actually hire that facility. So I don't think it truly falls within the spirit of the policy. In terms of justification, I think the policy itself requires in the criteria a demonstrated connection to the jetty. And I don't think simply to state that members of the organisation itself have a recollection and some history with the jetty as members of the community is sufficient to actually satisfy that criteria. And on that basis, I don't feel as if I could actually support this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. A speaker in favour of the motion. I'll go to the seconder, Councillor McMullen. Okay. Is a speaker against the motion? Councillor Graham.
Yeah, look, I'd like to speak against the motion. This proposal is for a multi-function centre, is a multi-million-dollar development by a wealthy investor landowner, and I believe the people of Esperance would not support us donating jetty timbers to a private development. This is also only at concept stage, and there is no guarantee that this facility will be readily accessible to the general public as per the policy. So keep it simple.
Thank you. A speaker in favour of the motion? A speaker against the motion or an amendment? No amendments? Speaker in favour? Speaker against? Okay, right of reply goes to Councillor Oborne.
Thank you, Mr. President. With regards to the objections that it's not in the spirit of the policy, again, I refer you to the precedent that the dollhouse is not a freely, it's not open 24/7. It's a family-owned heirlooms on display, and there is a fee to enter. And we thought that was in the spirit of the policy because the seat's outside, so it's supporting something happening in our community. It's supporting them. It's giving people the opportunity to sit on the seat outside that venue. So there's the precedence being set, and in the spirit of it, the timber is on the outside of this building, available 24/7 to view as you're driving past. But as I said in my original comments, you can park in the car park and wander around the gardens of a church any time of the day or night, and most times it's going to be open with people during the week, so you're free to knock on the door and go in and ask, maybe we could ask them to put an interpretation, where did that timber come from? And with regard, so that was with regards to the precedent and with regards to the fact that I think the spirit of the request is to honour the jetty and to have it as part of a building that's significant to the members of that building, that the jetty meant something to them and they'd like to honour the jetty in a building that is significant to them and available to the community.
Thank you. That closes the debate, councillors, with the right reply having been taken. I'll put the motion to the vote. Bear in mind you're voting for the recommendation that's on page 25 of your agenda. Those in favour, please show. Against? Motion is carried. 5 votes to 3. Thank you. Okay, let's move on then. We go to the item 12.2.2, which is on page 36 of your agenda, and it relates to the old Salmon Gums Hall. Are there any questions you might have on this item to the officer, which is Mr. Walker or Mr. Burge? Are there any questions to either of those two gentlemen? No questions? I take it then that you're ready to move a motion on this one, councillors. Page 38, you'll find the officer's recommendation. Someone prepared to move the officer's recommendation? Moved by Councillor Graham. Could you read that, please?
Yes,
Councillor
I'll be happy to move the officer's recommendation that Council 1 proceed with the demolition of the old Salmon Gums Hall and stage components. 2, proceed to the refurbishment of the Dundas Roads Board building. And 3, consider a budget allocation for 2022-23 or 23-24 for the upgrade of the Salmon Gums Park and rest stop.
Thank you. It's moved by Councillor Graham. Somebody prepared to second it? Seconded by Councillor O'Donnell. Councillor Graham, you can speak to your motion.
Yeah, look, the history of this is it's been held up by some consideration that it may have been used or being underutilised for other purposes, but we feel that that's been given its opportunity, and quite happy that we go ahead with the plan as per a couple of years ago where such a thing happened, and I encourage Council to support it. Thank you.
A speaker against the motion? Seconder wish to speak in favour of the motion? Councillor O'Donnell?
Yes, even though we attended and listened to the community, we were also advised by Mr. Walker that the Shire cannot support 2 halls in a community, so it makes perfect sense that we demolish the old and then we can then support the new hall out there. Thank you.
Thank you. A speaker Against the motion? Speaker against or an amendment? Take it you're ready to vote, councillors. Those in favour, please show. That is carried, 8 votes to 0. We move on then to Incorporating Community Services, the Finance Service Report, which is item 12.3.1 on page 40 of your agenda. Are there any questions to Mr. Burge on this item? Probably should have said, Mr. Scott, did you like to answer any questions on this?
I did answer a number in email.
Yes, thank you. We did receive that. Thank you very much for that. Is there any questions? No questions. Is someone prepared to move the motion, please, on the financial report, page 40? Moved by Councillor De Haas.
I would like to move the officer's recommendation that council receive the attached report entitled Monthly Financial Services Report, incorporating the statement of financial activity for the month of October 2022.
We move by Councillor De Haas. Is it seconded? Seconded, Councillor Flanagan. Councillor De Haas, you can speak to the motion.
Once again, just a huge thank you to the staff for this report. It's always a pleasure to read it and to see what's happening with our finances. Lots and lots of information in there, and anyone out there who takes an interest in anything like this, it'll be a really good read for you.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against or an amendment? Would the seconder like to speak to the financial report?
Nothing further to add, Mr. President.
Now I'll ask, is there a speaker against or an amendment? There's no one against or no amendment. I'll put to the vote those in favour. Against, that is carried. We go on to item Executive Services, item 12.4.1, the review of the Beam e-scooter trial, and the item is on page 87 of your agenda, and the recommendations on page 90. Are there any questions you might have on this item? Well, Mr. Burge, yep, Mr. Burge. Any questions to Mr. Burge on this item? There's no questions. Then is someone prepared to move a motion, which is on page 90? Okay, sorry. It's been moved by Councillor
Yep, I'd like to move the officer's recommendation that council approve the local government property permit number 22-056 as per attachment A.
Okay, it's moved by Councillor McMullen. Is it seconded? Seconded by Councillor Oborne. You can speak to your motion, Councillor McMullen.
Okay, Beam have had a hugely successful trial here in Esperance. In their first 12 months, they've provided over 87,000 trips. Their scooters have travelled over 222,000 kilometres, and they've had over 13,000 distinct users. Clearly, there is demand for their product. Beam have also been great to deal with at a Shire level. They've been open, transparent, and they've been quick to respond and implement slow zones, no-go zones, and most recently, a cognitive test to help deter alcohol-affected riders. In the previous 12 months, only 3 formal complaints have been received. I note that there are a few informal complaints on Facebook for wayward scooters that may have been left. Beam have clearly demonstrated a positive tourism and economic benefit to Esperance. They also fill a gap in town for reliable public transport available all hours. Beam have a sound operating model. They're aware of all the associated risks that their business incurs and have all relevant active insurance policies in place. I see no reason to not support Beam and urge councillors to carry this motion.
Thank you, Councillor McMullen. Is there a speaker against? No speakers against. The seconder wish to speak in favour. Councillor Oborne.
I've just crossed off most of my talking points because they were so clearly articulated by Councillor McMullen. Probably just to reiterate that with over 13,000 unique users enjoying this service, it's obviously locals and tourists alike to get up to that many numbers. And I'd highlight the difference between 3 complaints versus 13,000 users. And the positive offering that this has been for our community in that local events have asked Beam to support their events. So the community want Beam in the community. And I'll probably end with the fun fact that Esperance has got the highest utilisation of Beam scooters anywhere in Australia or New Zealand. So Esperance loves Beam scooters.
So, is there a speaker against the motion? Speaker in favour? Speaker against? Councillors, I was going to speak in favour of this. Neither of the people have addressed the fun factor, I think, and I think that really has been a fun factor in regards to the Beam scooters, and all the feedback I've got over them has been extremely good. Yes, we've had some complaints and people have seen some potential injuries with them, but I think overall there's been a fun factor that's really gave Esperance something over a holiday period. The speaker against? On amendment? Put the motion to the vote. Those in favour, please. Against, that is carried 8 votes to nil. We go now, councillors, to the item 12.4.2, the Walga Best Practice Governance Review. The item is on page 100 and the recommendation comes on page 101. Is there any questions you might have to Mr Burge? Yes, Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr President. My question to the CEO is, when do Walga seek the member feedback? What date do they seek that?
So officially they need it by the 23rd of December.
So, I'd like to lay this matter on the table, ask the councillors if I could. So is this
If you
the
wish
time
to
do it?
put forward a motion in that line, you can.
Yes. I'd like to ask my fellow councillors if we can lay this matter on the table, simply because we do have the time
No,
to...
just put the motion if you can, some
Oh,
words
sorry,
for the
yep.
motion and then you can speak to
All right,
it.
sure,
If I get
sure.
a seconder.
All right. So that council lay this matter on the table till the OCM in 20th of December, please.
Okay. Is there someone prepared to second that? I think what Councillor O'Donnell is looking for some time to get a briefing about it from it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. And I think if you use that in words of your motion,
Okay.
that would be the better way to go to it. So to give time for a briefing from Walga in regards to the various options.
Thank you.
Is that what you're looking
Yes,
for?
yes.
Now, the seconder was... Oh, well, you're happy with those
Yeah,
words? Okay, so I'll take that as a motion from Councillor O'Donnell. Now, the seconder, all over the place, have I? Okay.
Good day.
Well, Councillor De Haas, I will take the seconding from you. So, Councillor O'Donnell, you can speak to your motion and explain it fully.
Thank you. So the reason I've requested this, to lay this matter on the table, is we do have the time and they don't require a feedback until the 23rd of December. The OCM is the 20th of December. Walga has offered each council presentation or workshop abilities, so it's run by Tim Lane, so if we want to take that up. And also there is a webinar on the 30th of November at 10 a.m. if any council would like to register for that. And what they will be doing is a presentation of the Walga's Best Practice Governance Review, include background work, principles, model options and consultation process. So I feel that we will have so much more information and knowledge to make informed decisions on this. So thank you, councillors, if you can vote for this.
Is there a speaker against the motion? A seconder wish to speak to the motion? Councillor De Haas?
Yes, I would just like to add that I think it's in our best interests to get this further information and to help us make that informed decision.
Thank you. A speaker against or an amendment? Being no speaker against, I put to the vote. Those in favour, please show. Against, that is carried 8 votes to 0.
Thank you.
We go to item 12.4.3, which refers to the vacant land for sale by tender. The item is on page 144 of your agenda, councillors, and the recommendation's on page 146. Are there any questions you might have on this to Mr. Burge? Any questions? If there's no questions, is someone prepared to move the motion? No one's prepared to move?
Okay.
Moving the motion, moved by Councillor, oh, here we go, Councillor De Haas has moved. Would you wish to just read the recommendation, please, Councillor De Haas, and you don't have to read all the numbers of the blocks and the prices that are...
That's what I was going to say. It's all to do with the amount of words that are on there. If we're hesitant. I would like to move the officer's recommendation that Council 1 direct the CEO to advertise all unsold lots as detailed below at 3, excluding any lots that are under contract at the time the tender is advertised for sale by tender. 2, that the valuations previously received from Option Property Group for the Hockey Place lots in February 2017 and Heron Todd White Esperance for the Flinders Stage 2 lots in February 2020, Voyle Lane property in May 2021 and Shark Lake Industrial Park properties in June 2021 form the basis of reserve pricing for the purpose of evaluating public tenders received. 3, relist all lots that don't receive an offer through the tender process at the following prices as per the table. 4, delegate authority to the CEO to negotiate and accept offers on these listed properties at or above the minimum acceptable price identified in the schedule within attachment 1, listing and sale prices.
Thank you, Councillor De Haas. Is there a seconder to the motion? Councillor Flanagan. Councillor De Haas, do you wish to speak to your motion?
I don't think there's really much that I need to say about this. This is just a directive for the CEO to advertise and for us to delegate the authority to the CEO.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against? Councillor Flanagan, do you wish to speak in favour of this as the seconder of the motion?
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. I would just make the point that I didn't move the motion because I struggle with pronouncing Voyle Lane, and I did last time, so there you go. But no, nothing further to add, Mr. President.
So is there a speaker against the motion or an amendment? Put to the vote. Those in favour, it's an absolute majority because you're delegating. You have carried 8 votes to 0. Thank you. And now we go to item 12.4.4, the Scadden Country Club building upgrade, and the item's on page 152 and the recommendation's on page 154. Are there any questions you might have to Mr. Burge on this item? No questions? Is someone prepared to move the motion on 154? Moved by Councillor Graham.
Yeah, I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation that Council 1 agreed to that the Scadden Country Club proposed building extension project is to be undertaken by the Scadden Country Club. 2, request the CEO to enter into a funding agreement with the Scadden Country Club to allow release of the Shire-held funds. And 3, request that Lottery West reallocate the granted funds towards the construction of the Scadden Community Facility to the Scadden Country Club.
Thank you. It's been moved by councillor Graham. Is it seconded? Seconded by councillor O'Donnell. Councillor Graham, you can speak to your motion.
Yeah, look, it's, this has obviously had some trouble since the fire and since the agreements for getting funding, being able to find a builder to go forward with it during the pandemic period, has held this up. Cost of building has increased, and believe the Scadden Country Club need to reconsider the designs and as a part of that, the issues in the building game, and as I just feel it is very good that a community get their teeth into these sort of things and be a part of the solution, and I think it's a very positive result going forward that Scadden Country Club move forward with managing this project.
Is there a speaker against? Seconder wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to wholly agree with councillor Graham. I think that's great for a country club to take on this project, and I wish them all success.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against or an amendment? Councillors, I'd certainly ask you to support this because I think it's gone on for far too long, and it's time that we actually get something done there and the community get the benefit of the extensions that were appropriate to happen. And I also endorse the comments by councillor Graham saying that, you know, for the community to take the project on, it's their money, it's their club, and they'll get the great benefit of at the end of the time when the building program finishes and their club gets to enjoy it. Is there a speaker against? No amendments, no speakers against. I put to the vote those in favour. Against, that is carried, 8 votes to 0. So then we go to the information bulletin, which is the normal one on page 156 of your agenda, recommendations on the same number. Are there any questions you might have to senior management on this item? Any questions to Mr. Burge? Or Miss Hegney? She's got her name on this one. Any questions? There's no questions. Somebody move the officer's recommendation, please. Moved by councillor Flanagan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the officer's recommendation. Council accepts number 1, the information bulletin, October 2022. Number 2, council priority summary, corporate performance, October 2022. 3, delegations discharge, corporate resources. 4, community grants program 2022-23, small grants October 2022. 5, Walgett quarterly report. 6, letter on John Kerry, MLA.
Okay, it's been moved by councillor Flanagan. Is there a seconder to the motion? Second by councillor McMullen. You wish to speak to it, councillor Flanagan?
Nothing really, just only to, as always, just pass a comment in terms of the comprehensive information that's provided to councillors, the clarity which it gives us in terms of the progress that is made on various matters of materiality, and yeah, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Is the speaker against? Seconder wish to speak? No?
Couldn't remember
Okay.
who it was.
Right. So, is there a speaker against? A speaker in favour? Speaker against? Put it to the vote. Those in favour, please show. That is carried 8 votes to 0. So we go to page 8, which is reports of committees. Any reports of committees, Mr. CEO? And then we go to motions of which notice has been given. Are there any motions? Notice. Okay, then we go to members' questions with or without notice. Any members with questions with or without notice? No. And so then we go to public question time. We have public question time. If any members of the public wish to ask a question of council, I'll bring public question time forward as I normally try to. No questions. Okay. Then we go to matters behind closed doors. Before I go to that, could I just thank both Yi Ying and Emily from the media being with us tonight. Great to see you in here again and following through on meeting processes and decisions that we've made. Thank you very much. Councillor, somebody moved that we go behind closed doors. Meeting placed behind closed doors. Councillor O'Donnell has moved. Seconded by Councillor Grime. I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour, please show. Against? That is carried. Thank you. Councillors, we've got two items to. We turned off on the. We turned off on the camera and sound. Back online, are we? Okay. So we're back online to the people that are watching this through live streaming. Council has dealt with 2 items behind closed doors. One item related to the supply, delivery and licensing of a new tip truck to be used in our roadwork program. And the second item related to the expression of interest for the Blue Water Lodge. And council have resolved to the positive of those 2 items, the truck, to purchase the truck at the tendered amount and to pursue the with advertising our intention to dispose of reserve 53801 in accordance with the appropriate sections of the Local Government Act, and follow through with a negotiation with RAC to redevelop that site into a accommodation and caravan park facility. So we have finalised those 2 decisions tonight in the positive. I thank everybody for being here at the meeting, all council, senior staff members and members of the public who were with us, and also thank those people that are watching this on live streaming. I declare the meeting closed.